What's going on YouTube? Cheerdrop here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Batman Urban Legends number 6. Sorry, I was pretty much a week behind on all my comic book reviews, so over the next few days, you're going to see like this week's comic book ones that come out tomorrow. You'll also be seeing a lot from last week that I'm just going to be kind of posting and starting to catch up on. Last week was just a complete nightmare, and I didn't get any videos out until that Sunday. So I'm definitely going to start talking about this one. The Urban Legends one in particular is the one that was definitely the most talked about issue from last week, mostly associated with what happened with Tim Drake. A lot of people have been asking me, hey, when are you going to talk about Urban Legends? Can you talk about it? Can you talk about it? I'm like, okay, give me a minute. I'm going to wait for the hype to die down a little bit, or the controversy, or whatever the fuck people are going on and off about with that particular issue and what it means for Tim Drake's character and all the stuff kind of associated with it. Like, how was the story itself? What does this mean kind of going forward? Is this thing something kind of out of nowhere? Does this feel kind of tacked on? Was this just what is it going to lead to? Are there concerns for it? All that other fun stuff. But let's go ahead and talk about this one because, yes, they did change Tim Drake quite a bit in that particular issue. I we'll get to talking about that and where like my criticisms come for with that story and how it was kind of handled. But let's go ahead and talk about the stuff that also happened in Batman Urban Legends number 6. So there's a couple of stories here. This also marks the conclusion to the Chip Zdarsky Red Hood storyline, which to me has been the best part of this entire Batman Urban Legends thing. I almost kind of wish that thing was just kind of its own like Red Hood miniseries because I feel like it's so much better than anything else that's happened within the pages of Batman Urban Legends. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in here. I mean, there's really, outside of that, the only other significant thing in this story, well, I mean, there's one significant thing. Like, there's 4 stories in here. We have the Red Hood one, we have Zealot and Blood for Blood. We have Tim Drake in some of our parts, part 3 of 3, which is the most talked about one. And then we have Black Canary in Solo, written by Joshua Williamson, which is basically there to set up the whole Deathstroke Incorporated book, which is going to feature Black Canary, Deathstroke, and Talia al Ghul. And the Tim Drake one, where pretty much kind of what I talked about beforehand, what they're going to do, it's like, it seems like Tim Drake is going to be dating some guys now. So if you're a fan of that, then there you go. If you're not a fan of it, I'm sorry. That's just the way it's going to be. As for me, I personally just I don't really care, all things considered, about what Tim Drake does in his spare time. But I do actually I should scratch that. I do care because the way it kind of uh, was portrayed for something else, like for something we'll get to talk about that one in a second. I do have a complaint about that story in particular, and like kind of my main issue with it. So we'll be talking about that. So the first one is the Chip Zdarsky Red Hood thing. This one is really fantastic. It provides a really great conclusion to this fantastic 6-issue story arc. I mean, this is the main draw. This is the main draw for Batman Urban Legends. This really should have been a Red Hood solo story, but it's so good. Like there's a reason it's the first story when you read Urban Legends, because this Jason Todd Red Hood story stuff is really good, and we actually get to see some changes in Jason Todd. So remember the last issue, Batman was there. He was getting kind of put under like the villain Cheerdrops to make himself happy. Jason Todd shows up. He gets hit with the drugs, and he gets to see kind of a happy life. You definitely see some of the Bat family members here. You can see Tim. You can see Dick, you can see little Damien, you see Cassandra, you see Babs, you see, I think that's Kate. That looks like Tim with his former girlfriend stuff, so you see them kind of happy together. You can tell the other stuff was written separately, and then this was kind of thrown in there. But yes, Jason, he's got the guns, he's happy the Joker's gone, he's just kind of seeing a happy bit, but he's like, okay, this is not good enough for me. He's able to kind of overcome it. Then the Bat family comes in. You know what's weird is you see Duke here, but like you don't see Duke, like he's kind of left out like in this earlier thing there. I mean, I don't know, that could be seemingly kind of questionable. I would have rather just had him not being there. If you're not going to include him in this thing, but you're going to kind of include him here, it just feels I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? But anyway, so the Bat family shows up, they help him out. Batman gets hit with the antidote. He gets ready to kill the villain right here, Cheer. Because he's like, it's actually really an interesting reason, because like I'm used to facing my fears every night, but you gave me happiness. Like that's you. He was robbed of it, and then like he was ready to snap, but Jason's the one who kind of stops him. Jason's kind of in his own little bat suit here, which is kind of cool. Then we get a few weeks later, we get this nice touching final moment between Jason and the little kid Tyler about him being the Blue Hood. I really like this stuff. I think he does a good job to kind of humanize Jason, show a bit of his softer side, and how he's really good with like young kids and like how they were able to help like Tyler's mom recover. I mean, he did kill the father of that, and luckily, you know, Tyler's mom pulled through with the situation. But it is a bit of a happy conclusion there, which also makes me wonder what was up with the solicitation saying that Tyler died. They must have changed the story because I like the conclusion in this. And then Jason decides from this point onward he's not going to really use guns. Like he's going to maybe kind of tweak things a little bit. He's always going to kind of have his issues with Bruce. He's like, I believe some people just need to die, Bruce, but you know, I don't really want to fight, and Bruce doesn't really want to fight. And we actually see like a bit into like what Bruce saw in terms of his happy thing, how the Joker is pretty much taken care of. And then you see the whole kind of family there, and everyone just kind of smiling and having a good time. Everyone looks like way younger too. Like they all look like kids, which is kind of a nice happy moment. And then kind of the ending of the story was Jason getting his classic Red Hood helmet back from Bruce, which is a good thing because I think it was shattered at the events of like Red Hood and the Outlaws number 25, and we're gonna get rid of that stupid mask look for Red Hood. We're gonna get something really cool with his new helmet. So I think at the end of the day, this is a really fantastic thing that delved really good into the relationship between Bruce and Jason. It had some interesting developments, some suspenseful moments, some nice moments with Jason and the child Tyler, some really great artwork. I really loved this Red Hood storyline. I thought this delivered on all cylinders. It had a satisfying conclusion to its 6-issue arc, and I really want to see Chip Zdarsky write a Red Hood story or ongoing because I think he do a fantastic job. He definitely like proved me like how good he is. I'm not really familiar with his other work, but I really liked this Red Hood storyline. I hear he does really amazing stuff, but this Red Hood thing was quite fantastic. So definitely check that out. The next storyline is written by Matthew Rosenberg. It is called Blood for Blood. We have this character of Zealot or whatever, Zealot, I think, disguised as Wonder Woman who tries to kill Maxwell Lord. The real Wonder Woman shows up and she gets blood on her face, and then it just kind of ends like that, saying we got what we came for. This story you could skip altogether, unless it's going to lead to something. I don't really know. It didn't really do anything for me. The artwork is nice. I was wondering like why Wonder Woman was attacking, but then we come to find out that it's just kind of someone in disguise. But yeah, I mean, you really could skip this story. Like, unless you're a fan of this character, like I'm not really familiar with this character, all things considered. So I'm just kind of left scratching my head, like, who is that? But I feel like if there's going to be some fans out there who like this character and they'll get more of a something out of it than I did. I don't know. It just felt kind of out of place in terms of like a Batman Urban Legends because it's not as like Batman centered as you would expect. Characters who typically interact with Batman on a more regular basis. So, well, Wonder Woman kind of does. So I guess that kind of counts. I don't know. I don't know why the storyline's here. So I mean, this one you can kind of skip. Okay, so let's get to this storyline here. Oh man, how do I talk about this one? Because there's always going to be like with this story in particular, I feel like you're kind of like you got to be careful of what you say, and then because I feel like no matter what you say, you're always going to have like one camp who's going to be very for what you say, and then another camp that's going to be very against what you say. So I'm going to try and talk about this in a very nuanced fashion, but also kind of giving like where my critiques come into play. So this is the third part of some of our Tim Drake's or like whatever. Basically, this is Tim Drake's kind of coming out issue. My complaint about this whole thing is the fact that they just took his relationship with Stephanie Brown and then they broke him up off panel. And the whole reason they did that was just for this particular story. I don't know who was behind the decision to change Tim Drake's sexuality after like 30 plus years of him being kind of one way. I know some people will be like, but if you look at this comic here, look at this thing. No, this is the first time it's like officially in the main canon where they did this after 30 plus years. Some could say it's probably like a Tynion thing, but like I mean, this writer did this thing here. It's probably a Tynion who changed it because from what I heard, like James Tynion used to have like a Tumblr blog where it was like a Tim Drake and Connor Kent shipping blog. From what some people have told me, I don't know if that's true or not. So if anybody knows in the comments, please let me know. So I feel like that's kind of why they changed it. But my issue is they basically like broke him and stuff up off panel, like without really any explanation. It's just kind of like thrown out the window just to kind of throw this thing in here. The sole reason the story exists is just to kind of have Tim Drake change his sexuality. And if you're going to do that, I feel like there should be more effort thrown into a story like this, because this is kind of a big change for the character. We're taking like 30 years of an established character, and then you're just going to change it kind of on the blue, and you're going to take his previous relationship, and you don't have the decency to actually like set this up and break them up. Like, imagine taking Superman and Lois, and I'm just going to throw this random example out there, and one of the most iconic DC couples, not to say that Tim and Steph are that iconic, but imagine taking an iconic couple like that, like Superman and Lois, breaking them up off panel, and just a random like issue, like story in an anthology book. Superman's now having a thing with, I don't know, let's throw a random character like Jimmy Olsen. Again, this is just a hypothetical thing. Like, I mean, you have the entire years of history with him and Lois, but then all of a sudden, no, we're throwing this in here now. It just comes out of nowhere. It just feels kind of tacked on, and I guess a little bit forced. Like, if you're gonna do a story like this, I feel like you should actually like build towards it and set us up for this thing, because this just feels kind of out of nowhere. And one of my big criticisms too going forward is, how is Tim Drake going to be written as a character? Is it still going to be Tim Drake, and he's just going to happen to be have a thing for this character of Bernard, who hasn't really been in anything in what, like, I don't know, like 20 years or so. I don't know the last time Bernard's appeared in anything. Is he just gonna is he gonna change entirely, like how he acts? Is he just not gonna be the same character? Is it gonna get what was it gonna be? Is it gonna be like, is he gonna be stereotyped now? Is it gonna get fetishized? Because some writers will do that. In fact, I saw one writer on Twitter, like an actual DC comic book writer, who was talking about reading Tim Drake and Jason Todd fan fiction, and I'm like, okay, there's some questionable writers at DC. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, wait, what? Aren't they brothers? Like, that's kind of weird. So, like, my big concerns are going to try and fetishize this, or, like, kind of stereotype Tim Drake. Because I like Tim Drake as a character. I think that's some people's concerns for how it's going to be written going forward. It could be written well, or it could be written quite poorly. But if you're gonna, my big complaint is, if you're gonna do a story like this, you really should build a foundation of it first. Actually show us why he broke up with Stephanie Brown, because it just feels kind of lazy and half-assed the way they kind of did it in here. And like the story itself, kind of around it, like it's just not all that great, all things considered. Because now Bernard, who was captured, is like, oh, I can fight. Like, so how'd you get captured so easily if you can fight all these people? And then he's just like, tell Tim Drake about our date and all that. So it's kind of all that stuff. Apparently Tim's relationship with Steph, I guess, doesn't really mean much. Now it's all about Bernard, and then it's just kind of going in there, and he's just like, yeah, let's go on a date together. Again, some people are happy about this, and I'm happy for you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But like I said, the story itself isn't all that great, all things considered. Like, Bernard's just all of a sudden this really good trained fighter who can take out these guys. Why he didn't put up much of a fight beforehand, it beats me. And again, like, if you're a fan of this, I'm happy for you. Like, it just, I don't know, like, I'm just wondering how they're going to handle Tim Drake going forward. I don't care who Tim's into. I honestly could care less, all things considered. I just want to know how Tim's going to be written going forward. And again, you have his entire history with him and Stephanie Brown. Is that just going to kind of get brushed aside? Does that just not, like, mean anything anymore? Because it certainly got, like, thrown to the curb pretty quickly without, like, even so much as an explanation or, like, a setup to any of this thing. Like, because if you're going to do a story like this, I feel like you should actually put some effort into this, because this just feels kind of half-assed and just done for, like, publicity. A publicity stunt is what it kind of feels like to me. Maybe to some people it's not, but I feel like if you're going to do this, you should put more effort into it and actually, like, put a good foundation to it, actually build to it, make it more meaningful, because this is a big deal for this character, and again, for a lot of people who, like, relate to characters like this. You should put in more effort to it. That's one of my biggest complaints. Just kind of throwing his relationship with Steph aside, which has been kind of an iconic staple for the two characters for so many years, and then this just kind of comes right out of nowhere and out of the blue. It just feels kind of like, it doesn't feel like organic without, like, a proper setup. If you had a proper setup, I'd be saying things a little bit differently here. So if you took the time and actually set this up, and actually showed us going through his breakup with Steph, like, made it more meaningful, because all of a sudden it's just out of the blue, he's like a character we haven't seen in so long, and it's just like, oh no, I'm all about Bernard. I'm like, okay, you haven't seen Bernard. Bernard has not been in like anything DC comic books related, at least to my knowledge, because I read every issue of Detective Comics since like Rebirth began. I have not seen this Bernard character. I don't even know who Bernard really is. All things considered, I think they were a character like long ago in one of like Tim Drake's earlier books, but they have not been appeared in like anything. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're telling me that Tim Drake, who's been to the ends of the earth with Stephanie Brown, just broke up off panel, is now like seeing this Bernard character. I don't know. That just feels kind of half-assed to me. Like I just with if I got a setup and actually like built to this, I'd be more okay with it. But because you just kind of threw it aside just to kind of have this in here, it just feels kind of lazy to me. So that's where my big criticism is towards the whole storyline in general. Some people may agree with that, and others may disagree with it, but you're entitled to your opinion. What did you think of this one? So there you go. There's my 2 cents on it. I don't care what Tim Drake does in his spare time with this. Well, I guess in some ways I kind of do care because he had an established relationship with Steph, and it just feels like they just brushed it under the rug. All that stuff with them just kind of just feels meaningless now. Well, not entirely meaningless, but it just feels it's a cheap way out to me. Like you didn't actually go through the work to break them up. You just kind of just like it just felt like some writers like, no, I don't like that. Bye bye, and then just that's it. Now we're here. So I don't know. That just felt kind of like cheap and lazy and to me. So I don't know. This story, like the story itself, it really isn't all that great, all things considered. Like the villains aren't that engaging. The artwork is quite good, but it just feels like they did it for like a publicity stunt. Although maybe not. So it could be good. We'll just see how Tim Drake's written. We'll see if how it's handled going forward. I just hope he still remains like the Tim Drake that everybody likes, who just kind of happens to be dating this character Bernard or whatever, and not like kind of change the character altogether, like with how he interacts with other people, like because otherwise then it could just get kind of stereotyped and fetishized by some writers because some writers tend to do that. So hopefully it's written good. Hopefully it's handled good going forward. But yeah. All right, so let's get on to the last story by Joshua Williamson. This one is a story with Black Canary. It's her with Green Arrow. This is a solo thing. Basically, the entirety of this storyline here is all about setting up the Deathstroke Incorporated book. So she gets sent to go to this undercover thing, and she eventually kind of gets brought in to this thing. And then basically she finds out that her partner, the people she's going to be working for, turns out to be Deathstroke, so she's going to be teaming up with Deathstroke. And also in the epilogue, it sets up Talia al Ghul appearing in the whole thing too, talking about a shadow war. You get some other characters that look to be in the background there that looks kind of like a Robin or something there. But this is definitely going to be incorporated into the Deathstroke Incorporated #1 issue. I don't feel like going over all the details itself, but I like the writing between Black Canary and Green Arrow, just kind of getting stuff like that right there. I thought that was handled well because I like those characters, and I really wish we had a Green Arrow book. But I'm glad that she's going to be appearing in this Deathstroke book, and I'm glad that Talia is also going to be appearing in it too. And Deathstroke there, like I like the Christopher Priest Deathstroke run for the most part. There's some arcs I didn't like whenever it kind of crossed over with other stuff. I don't think it worked quite as well. I did not like the Deathstroke vs. Batman stuff, but I like some stuff with Defiance, and I like some of this way it like kind of dove into like the complicated history of Slade Wilson and his family and how all those relationships like play around with each other and stuff. But yeah, the Deathstroke book was quite good in Rebirth for the most part, but I think it's enough about time to get a new Deathstroke comic. And the fact that we're going to get Black Canary, we're going to get probably Green Arrow is going to appear in it too. We're getting Talia in there. So it feels like Joshua Williamson's kind of has like a connection with the Arrow family. Like he's got, I think it was he writing Roy and like Infinite Frontier. He's got Connor Hawke in the Robin book. And he's also got like Black Canary and I guess Green Arrow in this upcoming Deathstroke thing. For the love of God, can you please get Emiko Queen out of Teen Titans Academy and put her in either the Deathstroke or the Robin book? I don't know if Joshua Williamson's going to read or watch this video or anything like that, but please get her out of that book. Put her in something meaningful. She's the only like Arrow character who's not really appearing in anything outside of that Teen Titans Academy book where she's given next to nothing to do. So this is my plea. Get her out of that book. Put her in the Robin book. Put her in the Deathstroke book because, the Arrow family is actually getting some good stuff with under the Williamson. So I hope to see her like kind of incorporated in that too, because I feel like she's kind of left to the curve of it. She had a good appearance in the Green Arrow, like, 80th anniversary thing, but I want to see her kind of appear in something else. I'd like maybe a supporting character in the Robin book, so that's just a little thing for me since Williamson's writing. But yes, got to see Babs here. We got to see like this whole like Shadow War organization, Black Canary kind of going undercover. I guess not really so much because it's pretty obvious what she does. Kicking ass, some gorgeous looking artwork. Talia's coming in here too. Deathstroke's in there. The artwork is great. I like Talia's suit here. And I'm just excited for this Deathstroke book. So, yeah. So, the story itself is okay. You could probably just kind of skim through it really quickly. And then you should be good, like, to go once the Deathstroke. It's kind of like what happened with Detective Comics and Batman, where they had the backup, like, the Demon Eater Detective storyline with Damian, like, what's paths he's going to choose. So, you kind of got that going on there. But, anyways, I feel like I've rambled on way too long for this Batman Urban Legends book. I'm talking for, like, 20 minutes because a lot of people want to know my thoughts on that and the whole Tim Drake situation, the Red Hood thing. But I think I said what I needed to say. Like I said, I don't care what Tim does in his spare time. I don't care if he's dating Bernard, all things considered. But I do care that it feels kind of half-assed and not handled quite well. Like, I mean, we have 30 years of an established character. If we're going to do a big change like that, you should actually kind of put the effort forth and not have like a barely less than 2-issue setup, because again, this is an anthology thing. Like, I feel like you should have actually like built to it and put more effort into a change like that, rather than kind of half-assedly just kind of throw it together and brush aside like established relationships like he had with Stephanie Brown. Like, they've been together too long, and been through too much just to like break up off panel without us actually like knowing what happened. I always hate that in comics where like a big change happens just completely like off panel, despite like the previous issue where everything was perfectly fine. It's like, no, we're just gonna throw that away. Like, actually show us. Like, if you did that, I'd be like more tolerable of the changes that they made. But because of that, I don't know, it just doesn't sit as well with me as it could if they would have put the effort forth into it. So those are my complaints about it. The Red Hood thing is still the best. Really excited about the Deathstroke thing. Didn't really have much to say about the Zealot story. And the Tim thing, I feel like I kind of said all I really needed to say about it. I hope that was kind of a nuanced response, because whenever you talk about something like that online, you're going to get like two sides just kind of screaming at each other, and I'm trying to come at it with a more like nuanced approach and being very careful with my wording about that, so that I don't have to deal with the shitstorm online. But I think I did. I think I handled it about as well as you probably could. But yeah. All right, well, that's all I got to say. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to post your comments down below, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, and as always, take care now, bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. More comic book reviews coming tomorrow.